Welcome. My name is Ron Wills, and this is the Big Idea podcast powered by the National Association of Business Owners and Entrepreneurs. Today's guest is Dr. Dale Olsen of SIMmersion. Dr. Olsen, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company.
Well, I like to do a lot of different things. And so while I was involved with analyzing missiles for almost 25 years, I got into a lot of other different subjects, polygraph being one, EEG analysis being another. And as part of that polygraph, I went into the FBI and was talking about some of our research in polygraph and asked them what their number one priority was. And they said teaching, interview, and interrogation.
Okay.
After a lot of discussion. And so I said, well, let me try to do something novel. And that was the beginning of our simulated people. We had to have a character who was guilty sometimes and innocent sometimes in the interrogation or the interview. And they had to have different personalities and a lot of things changing. So that was the beginning of SIMmersion. From there, I helped develop a suicide intervention system for the Army, recruiting system for the Marine Corps, and a border interview for U.S. Customs. And after that, we started the business.
Excellent. So in two sentences, how would you explain your company to somebody that has no idea what you do?
We simulate people that are so real you get immersed. The characters have memory, personality, and emotions. So they behave exactly like a real person. In developing the technology, my goal was to create the most realistic person possible for role plays.
And by creating this realistic simulation, people pick up and learn much faster than they would, I guess, with, I'm used to most companies' training. It's usually a stack of written materials. So what has the research showed about the effectiveness of this type of training?
There's been dozens of research studies funded mostly by NIH, and they all come up with the same conclusion that the training is rapid. And most of the studies that look at this show that the skills developed are long-lasting. So generally, if you go to a course, you do a workshop, you may go back into the environment that you're in, whatever it is, and you will quickly, all that training information will quickly erode. There's a lot of scientific studies that show that, where with our stuff, it lasts. Real skills are built. And that's the distinction, because it's experiential learning. It feels like what they've had in real life. And that's why it's so effective.
Excellent. So this brings us to today's topic, which is things that challenge your ability to grow your firm, and maybe some things that aid that along. But growth is our topic. And as I listen to you, you had said in some of the information that you had provided to us that one of the challenges that you have is a transition from technology development and federal government contracts to selling your products. Could you explain what you meant by that?
Well, my degree is in statistics. And so I'm a technical guy at heart, but not necessarily personality-wise. So it took a little bit of time to develop the technology. And then there's a whole lot of development of know-how. So building these systems, for me, it was kind of a natural thing. And for a very small percentage of the population, it's a real natural thing. It's like a little bit like singing opera. You can be the brightest person in the world, and you may not be able to do that, sing opera at all. Whereas this is a special talent that it takes to develop these systems. And so it took us a long time to figure out how to sort through and find just the right developers, and then to be able to translate that development techniques into the new employees. So that was the beginning. And so we spent a lot of time trying to, our systems weren't the cheapest thing to buy in the beginning because there was a lot of human effort involved. It's a little bit like writing a novel. You can't just put it in the black box and the novel comes out. You've got to write something that's very complex. Here, our characters can say and do almost anything, almost any time. And so we've got to capture the way real people behave. There's just a lot to it. So we spent a lot of time developing technology, and then now we're moving into, now that we've got a library of products to sell, we're moving into the marketing area. And of course, that's a challenge when we don't have necessarily marketeers and we don't have a lot of revenue because we are still put all our money into technology development, becoming the world's best at what we do.
So, okay, so you're now going to switch. Are you looking to the commercial marketplace in addition to the federal government marketplace?
The federal government has had, in terms of funding companies like mine, it's become increasingly more and more difficult. So we are not looking to do that. We do a little bit of it, but not really putting our money and our marketing efforts into that. Our marketing efforts are really focused on our products that we have already developed. And part of the challenge for us there is that we're in so many different markets. So we have, for example, suicide intervention, which you might talk about to physicians and healthcare providers of all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of work for the National Suicide Lifeline. We're estimating about 2,000 users right now to use our products for the National Suicide Lifeline. But then we've got products like opioid treatment and how to help people who have addiction. That's a totally different group of people. A lot of products like that do have to do with addiction and alcohol and other areas. We also have a lot of work with job interview training. So those are just three big areas.
Yeah, I could see, you know, I work with small business owners, and I could see a need. They don't know how to interview very well. And I can recount many mistakes that they make, and they often hire the wrong person for whatever happened in that interview. So I could see that being valuable to a lot of small businesses. Did you ever think in your mind that small businesses would be companies that would buy your services?
Absolutely. That's why everything is online. Our sales could be one or two or three trainees, or it could be 2,000. It's all over the place, and we're capable of handling all of that. But I'm sure I gave you the wrong impression. Our job interviews are targeting people with disabilities of all sorts to learn how to do a proper job interview, because a lot of these people are really effective in their job, but they have a lot of hurdles trying to get past the job interview. And we're also working on systems really focused on people with autism. So once they've got the job, learning the skills to maintain the job, to work with the boss, to work with coworkers, to work with customers. So that's a really big area, and it serves a lot of people.
So I could see, you know, marketing could be a big limiting factor for you if you don't have huge resources to pour into it. What are the things that you're doing to get additional notice, to get the marketing space, the advertising, or even public relations space to help increase revenues, increase sales?
Most of our sales currently are from word of mouth and from professors, because we work with the best universities, giving briefs on the research that they're doing with our products. And since it's so positive, that generates a lot of interest in our products. That's not something that everybody can do, but we are moving on. We are online, primarily online, although we don't have to be. And so what I'm doing there is, we have, of course, a lot of website, a lot of web information, but I'm developing a landing page for each of our different product areas or marketing areas. And that's, and then we're going to start advertising. We initially started with some test marketing with banner ads in the appropriate communities, and also with Google AdWords. And we can track all of that then with Google Analytics to see where our hits are coming from and track who's actually buying our products based on our advertising.
So this is all coming. What are your goals now between now and the end of the year to sort of generate additional attention, revenues, and so forth? What is your expectation? When will you start to see the revenues increasing based on the types of marketing that you're planning to do?
Well, our revenue is already increasing because 5 years ago we had almost no off-the-shelf sales, and now we're primarily supported by off-the-shelf sales. So now we're seeing how we can expand that with the marketing. So I don't have specific goals. I think maybe our main goal is to try different things to see what's more effective. I mentioned the banner ad, which is targeting a specific community. And then the Google AdWords, we'll probably look into YouTube. When you look at the number of ads on YouTube and on Google Ads and on Google and the other social media, you see that people are using it because it's effective, and the numbers show that it's highly effective. So our first goal is to use a small amount of money to seed some advertising and see where we're getting the best ROI.
Okay. I'm really impressed with what you're doing. It's exciting. It's got this feel of new technology that could really streamline a lot of the business processes. Here as someone who works with small to mid-sized businesses, we're hoping that we see some more product coming out to support the small business community. But terrific job what you've done so far, and best of luck in the future.
Well, thank you very much.